Welcome to Expand Your Empire, the podcast where women stop deferring wealth and start building financial power. I'm Amanda Taylor, investor, strategist, and disruptor of outdated money rules. It's time to own your worth, grow your assets, and build a legacy that lasts. The number Americans say they need to retire comfortably is 1.46 million. The median retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64 is 185,000. My age group, 45 to 54, is 115,000. Yeah, I'm not off on the math. That is a 1.275 to 1.3 million-ish gap, depending on your age. And before you close this app and go stress eat something, stay with me. This episode is not about panic. It is about information. And information, it turns out, is the thing most of us were never given. So, welcome back to Expand Your Empire. Let's talk about retirement. So, here's how most of us ended up here. We grew up watching the adults in our lives operate with a level of financial confidence that, in retrospect, was entirely dependent on a system that no longer exists. Pensions. 30, 40-year careers at one company, a gold watch at the end, Social Security that nobody was particularly worried about. And those adults, with the very best intentions, handed us a playbook. Max out your 401k, buy a house. Social Security will be there. It was solid advice for their world. Their world did not survive. Their world did not survive contact with ours. We graduated into recessions. We changed jobs constantly because that's what the economy actually required of us. I personally changed jobs after college the way people change underwear. It was frequent, sometimes chaotic, and usually for reasons that made complete sense at the time. And then a lot of us stopped working for other people entirely and went out on our own, which, as it turns out, the entire retirement system was not designed to accommodate. More on that in a minute. The point is we followed the advice we were given, and the advice was incomplete. That's not a personal failing. It's just an information gap. And today we are closing it. So let's stay with those numbers for a second, because I don't just want to blow past them. 1.46 million. That's what people say we need. And that number went up 200,000 in a single year, not because we all suddenly got more ambitious about retirement, because eggs cost $4 and healthcare costs keep climbing, and we are living longer than any previous generation, which sounds like a blessing until you do the math on how long your money lasts. Now, for 55 to 64, that's the median, meaning half Americans in that age group have less than that saved. And for women, that hits differently. Women retire with less money on average across every income level, every career path. The reasons are real and they stack up on each other. Career breaks for caregiving, the pay gap, compounding for decades, longer lifespans, stretching every dollar further than planned. This isn't a personal finance problem. It is a structural one. But structural problems still require personal solutions, which is why we are here. Now, here's the other thing. Nobody tells you about that number in your retirement account. What you see is not what you will have. That number hasn't been adjusted for inflation yet. It hasn't accounted for taxes because, depending on your account type, the IRS will absolutely be taking their cut when you start withdrawing. And it hasn't accounted for fees, investment fees, there are expense ratios, advisor fees. There are these small percentages that are compounding quietly for decades. The number in your account is a starting point for a conversation. It is not the finish line. And then there's Social Security. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of us have a vague sense that it exists and that we're supposed to count on it and also that something might be wrong with it, but we're not entirely sure what. So here is the reality. Social Security was never designed to replace your income. It was designed to be a floor, a supplement. Right now, it replaces like 38 cents of every dollar you earn. And most financial experts agree that you need to replace somewhere between 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income to live comfortably. Again, Social Security is at 38, so the rest is on you. So here's the part that should probably be discussed more loudly in the public. The Social Security Trust Fund, at its current trajectory, is going to face potential depletion by the mid-2030s if Congress doesn't do anything. Now, it doesn't mean it disappears, but it could mean automatic reductions of up to 20 to 25%. Now, for those of us who are not 25 years old, that is not a distant policy debate. That's a number we need to be building into our planning right now. I'm not saying panic, I'm saying plan. Those are very different things, and only one of them is useful. So let's stop here and specifically talk to my business owners and self-employed women in the room, because the standard retirement conversation skips past us so fast, it's almost insulting. The entire architecture of conventional retirement advice assumes there's an employer handling things on your behalf. There's a 401k because HR set one up. There's a match because the company decided to offer one. There's an automatic enrollment because someone built a system. But when you're the employer, none of that exists unless you build it yourself. And most people don't. And it's not because they are irresponsible, because nobody clearly explained what's actually available to them. So I want to do that. A SEP IRA, which stands for Simplified Employee Pension. It lets you contribute up to 25% of your net self-employment income per year. The limits are significantly higher than a standard 401k. It's very straightforward to open, it's easy to administer, and it is dramatically underused by self-employed people who would benefit so much from it. Now, there's also a solo 401k. That is for self-employed people with no employees, maybe a spouse. It lets you contribute as both employer and employee, which means you can potentially sock away even more per year than that SEP IRA allows, depending on your income. So if you haven't looked at this one, do go look at it. Now, there's another one that doesn't get mentioned a lot in the self-employed retirement conversation often enough, and I think it should. Depending on your age and your situation, a whole life insurance policy can function as a financial vehicle with similar tax advantage to a retirement account. The cash value grows, tax deferred, you can borrow against it, unlike a 401k, there's no age limit. There are no contribution limits and no required minimum distributions. Is it right for everyone? No. Does it deserve to be part of the conversation, especially for women who are my age or a little younger that may have different needs than someone who's closer to 60? Absolutely. Let's talk to someone who's qualified to evaluate your specific situation, but please know it exists. But also know the system wasn't built for us. But it doesn't mean we're excluded. It means we have to build our own. And very deliberately, because no one is doing it automatically on our behalf. Now, here's what really frustrates me. Here's why I started this podcast in the first place. On behalf of women and honestly self-employed people everywhere, most of us were handed two tools and told that was the whole toolbox. A retirement plan and Social Security, maybe a savings account if we're feeling ambitious, and we're done. That is not the whole toolbox. It is barely the introduction to the toolbox. The vehicles available to build wealth are extensive. So I'm going to read you some of them. You've got real estate rentals, real estate lending, REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, index funds, ETFs, dividend stocks, bonds, bond ladders, treasury bills, I bonds, which hedge against inflation. They're underrated. They're designed to protect you against inflation. CDs, high yield savings accounts, annuities, which create income you can't outlive. Whole life insurance, those SEP RAs and 401ks, private equity, private credit, business ownership, commodities, precious metals. And if you've been watching crypto or Bitcoin for the last several years, you understand what you're actually getting into. Those digital assets exist as a speculative layer that some investors include deliberately with full awareness of the risk. Now, this is a partial list. Yes, every single one of those carries risk. Some do require significant capital. All of them require due diligence and ideally guidance from someone qualified to evaluate your specific situation. It's all very unique. And I'm not your financial advisor. I'm the friend who got tired of being the least informed person about her own money and decided to do something about it. But here is what I want you to take from this list. The women who retire with real options, they didn't put everything in one bucket and hope for the best. They built layers, different tools for different problems. Real estate hedges against inflation. Annuities create guaranteed income. Those I bonds protect your purchasing power. Business ownership builds equity while you're working. You don't need a finance degree to understand this. You just need curiosity and a willingness to start. And now I know some of you are listening to this and thinking, this is great, Amanda, but I am barely covering my own bills. I don't have extra money at the end of the month. This conversation is for someone else. I hear you. I have been that person, but here's what I want you to know. The answer is not to wait until things feel better. They don't get better by waiting. They get better when you make a decision and take one specific action. If you do have a 401k or a 403b at work, increase your contribution by 1%. Just one. Most people can't even feel that 1% in their take-home pay. It is below the threshold of noticeable. But over 20 years at 7%, that compounds into something real. And if your employer offers a match and you're not capturing the full match, you're leaving part of your compensation on the table every single paycheck. That is free money that is already allocated to you as part of your total compensation package. Stop giving it back. And if you genuinely have no margin right now, the most powerful move you can make is to learn. Understanding your own financial situation costs nothing. The gap between where you are and where you want to be starts closing the moment you decide to actually look at it. So here's where I want to land on all of this. The gap is real. It exists across every age, every income, every career path, but so are the tools to close it. And most of us were just not given that full list. That's exactly why I'm building and about to launch my Investing 101 course. And the waitlist is open now. This is not a course that assumes you already know things or makes you feel bad about not knowing them. It's not going to talk to you like you're either a finance PhD or someone who needs things explained in very small words. It covers the basics of investing, every major asset class and vehicle worth knowing about, and the confidence and emotional frameworks you actually need to make decisions with your own money without second guessing yourself into paralysis. I built it because the version of this that already exists wasn't built for us. So I built one that was. Now, the link to join the waitlist is in the show notes. Go get on it. I want you to get curious. I want you to learn, and I want you to understand that when your money is making money, then your life gets easier. All right, that is my rant for the day. We can close the gap. We just got to do it one step at a time. So I will see you next week, and until then, keep building. If this lit something up, share it, review it, and get in the room. Join the Expand Your Empire community and start turning wisdom into wealth. You're not too late, and you're not doing this alone.